prophets of a particular area. So why are you going to these people? Why are you preaching to them? Why are you telling them about Tawheed and all these particular things? There's no benefit. Why are you telling these people? Go ahead, continue, Adam.
Or visit with a terrible punishment.
Let's start from the beginning again.
When some of them said, "Why do you preach to a people whom Allah will destroy or visit with a terrible punishment?" Said the preachers, "To discharge our duty to our Lord, and perchance they may fear Him."
طيب. معذرة عند ربكم. These prophets, they mention to the people, why are you going to these people that Allah Azza wa Jalla is about to destroy them? Wipe them out completely. And the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like no other punishment. And we know this from studying from the seerah of not only the Prophet but the prophets who came before. For an example, there was a village that Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted to destroy, so He sent an angel. And the angel let out a sayha, a scream, and it killed everybody in the village. Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted to destroy another village, so He sent an angel, and the angel flipped the whole village over with the tip of his wing. The punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like no other punishment. There is no comparison. So the whole point here that the prophets, they mentioned, when the people asked them, what's the point? Why are you going to these people? They commit all types of fahisha and ma'asi. They commit all types of open sins. Why do you even care about them? Worry about yourself. Right? This is all we hear. Worry about yourself. And these prophets, they mention, la. The main goal, the only reason why we're doing this is that because when I stand before Allah Azza wa Jalla on Yawm al-Qiyamah and He asks me about this particular thing, I can say, Fa'ant, I did it, oh Allah. So what? I can free myself in front of Allah. My job is not to force the people to get them to do what they're supposed to do. My job is to only do what? To convey the message. After that, it's upon the people what? To fix within themselves. So this is the first, or rather, we're going to go over different reasons, different benefits why we actually command good and forbid the evil. But the main reason I want everyone to remember, inshallah ta'ala, is that the main reason is that you could be free in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Any fahisha, any major sin, doesn't matter if you're in America or any other country, any major sin or any sin period, the only reason why we stand up and we command the good and forbid the evil and tell the people that it's wrong, again, it's not to hurt a person's feelings, not to be befriend or get some type of monetary gain. The main goal, inshallah ta'ala, is to be free from the punishment of Allah. Another thing that, the reason why we command the good and forbid the evil is also that the person does not become, and I want everyone to reflect on this, you don't become desensitized to sin. Where sin doesn't bother you anymore. All right? And let's be honest, think about your life, how you grew up in some of us grew up in certain neighborhoods. It's not well off or bad or what have you, in the ghetto. And we've seen certain things, right? For an example, I'm from New York. Or some people may be from certain parts of New York or California, whatever. And they seen, and I'm not trying to be vulgar, but they seen, for an example, prostitution. They seen all the different things growing up in the 70s or the 80s, right? Crack and these crack epidemics and things like that. Where if you don't fix your heart, or you don't speak out again, you become what? You become the you become used to it. It's not a big deal anymore. So to keep, or at the very least to attempt to keep your heart pure with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that a person does what? That he speaks out against it. Alright? That he commands the good and he forbids the evil. Even though if he sees himself that he's kind of like, I don't really think it's a big deal like that. The point is to try to keep that purity, that fitrah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the very least, he says, la, this is wrong. Right? Because he's trying to not become desensitized to sin, what doesn't bother him anymore. And then once the heart becomes cold, or rather once the heart becomes black, a person should be very fearful and fear his position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why, and this advice myself first and foremost, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, أَتَأْمُرُ النَّاسِ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do you command the people of righteous while you forget yourselves in the process? So therefore, it's advice myself first and foremost. But the point is that the reason why we do this particular thing is that you won't become desensitized to sin, what doesn't bother you. And Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he used to say, a true man, rajul haqiqi, a real man fears dying twice. And the first death is the death of his heart. And then the second death is when he dies. A true man fears that death, because that death of the heart is what really matters. Because once that, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, that Ran, that black dot goes over that heart, and it grows and it grows and it grows, but you don't feel anything anymore. Nothing else bothers you. Wallahi. Fear for yourself and that standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? So we said two reasons so far. The first reason was what? Why do we command the good and forbid the evil? To remind the people to be free in front of Allah. Free from the punishment of Allah. Right? Free from your duty. Oh Allah, I did my part. I don't know what these other jokers are doing, but I did my part. Right? Alright? The second thing we said is what?
So you don't get desensitized.
So the heart doesn't become desensitized to sin. Okay? But also, the third thing is that this is the qualities, the sifat of a mu'min, the qualities of a believer. A person who truly believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to do what? Command the good and do what? And then forbid the evil. Okay, this proof is in Surah Tawbah, 971. I want you to read that, 971. 971. So somebody get that, and then want another person to get 967. So someone read 971, and then the other person read 967. Whoever reads 967 is going to read about the sifat, the descriptions of a munafiq, a hypocrite. A hypocrite does not like to hear or like to command the good or forbid the evil. But the qualities of a believer, this is something that a person likes to do. Okay, so who has 971? You have 971? Play it. Who's going to read 967?
I'll read it.
Play it. Tafadhal. All right, so 971 first.
The believers, men and women, are protectors of one another. They enjoin what is just and forbid what is evil. They observe regular prayers, practice regular charity, and obey Allah and His Messenger. On them will Allah pour His mercy, for Allah is exalted in power and wise.
Play it. If you hear in the beginning of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that what? The believing men and the believing women, they do what? They do what?
They're the guardians of each other.
They're the guardians of each other. They protect each other. And they do what? They enjoin what? And they forbid the evil. All right? So they enjoin the good and forbid. These are the qualities of a believer. All right? Notice that this is something that they love. There's something that Allah Azza wa Jalla loves. Now, someone read 967.
The hypocritical men and the hypocritical women are all alike.
SubhanAllah.
They enjoin evil and forbid good and withhold their hands. They have forsaken Allah, so He has forsaken them. Surely the hypocrites are the transgressors.
What does Allah say? They all are what? They all alike. They all the same. They enjoin what? They enjoin good?
Evil.
They enjoy what? Shar, evil. And they forbid what? They forbid khair. Alright? So this is the sifat of a munafiq. And also, as we know, that the munafiq, the hypocrite, is from what? It's from the lowest parts of the hellfire. But from one of their sifat, one of their qualities that they have, is they don't like the khair. They don't like good. They don't like people enjoying the good. And you'll find that even in today, a lot of people, unfortunately, they make istihzab ad-din. They make fun of the religion. So, for example, when you find people who are being upright, right? They say, oh, why are you being the police? You policing. It ain't that serious. Leave me alone. So on and so forth. Right? Let me just practice my own. Let me practice my own, my own deen, my own way of life, and so on and so forth. Or you too strict. Abby, leave me alone. Stop playing, and so on and so forth. These type of people, they don't like to hear the khair. Not only do they not like to hear it, they don't like you to be from those to even, what? To encourage people to do the right thing. So they make fun of a sister, for an example, who wears niqab. And we all been in high school before. We'll hear stuff like, oh man, she's a ninja. She's this, she's that, so on and so forth. Making fun, not thinking that they're actually making fun of what? The religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are some things that are serious that we got to reflect on. Alright? So again, one of the sifat of a munafiq, someone who is a hypocrite. And we know who is a hypocrite is, that they display Islam, but on the inside they really what? They don't believe. And not to say that anyone who has a problem with it is a munafiq, but from their descriptions or from their sifat is that a person who exemplifies these characteristics. They don't like to hear about the khair. They don't like the people to enjoy the good. They also make fun of it as well. All right, so we want to stay away from that, inshallah ta'ala. Another reason why we actually enjoy the good and we forbid the evil, inshallah ta'ala, is that we show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? A person showing shukr to Allah by him enjoying the good and then forbidding the evil. How's that possible? What's the connection? By him doing that or her doing that, they are showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, the question is, by a person saying, for example, you see someone do something wrong, and you correct them. By correcting them, how is that showing that you are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
That he don't put you in that type of situation.
Huh?
That he hasn't put you in that type of situation.
That he's not put you in that type of situation. What else?
You're doing your duty.
Hmm?
You're doing your duty.
You're doing your duty.
Yes, you're doing your duty, meaning that you're trying to uphold what Allah is telling you to do by enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. This is one of the duties of the Muslim, is to call the people to righteousness. So you enjoying it, so you keeping your duty to Allah, try to please Allah.
Now, Ahsantum. You have one of the ways to show Allah that you're grateful is to ask you what to love that which He loves. That's the first thing. And Allah loves khair. He likes for the people to command the good and forbid the evil. All right. So therefore, by doing this, one, you're showing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you love Him. That's the first thing. The second thing, these other things fall in place, that you're trying to free yourself in front of Allah. Oh Allah, I'm trying to do my part as a Muslim. As a Muslim man, or as a Muslim father, or a Muslim woman, whatever. That I'm trying to do my part in showing you that I love your deen and I love your commandments. And I'm going to command the good and forbid the evil. Okay? This is one way to show that you are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know in another verse in the Quran where Allah says, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I will do what? I will increase you. But if you are ungrateful to me, know for sure that my punishment is the most severe. There is no comparison. And we know the punishments of the hellfire, وَعِيَذَ بِاللَّهِ مِنْهَا. We know the punishment of the hellfire, and we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from that. From the punishment of the hellfire, from the punishment of the grave, and the punishment of Yawm al-Qiyamah. Ameen. Tayyib. Let's actually go over also, alhamdulillah, one of the reasons as well, we mentioned 4 reasons so far, correct? 4 or 5 reasons. I think it was 4. One of the reasons why we actually command the good and forbid the evil is that it preserves those 5 rights that we mentioned last class. What is the 5 rights? When Allah sent Islam, it was to preserve 5 human rights. Well, first of all, what was that word I taught you? Basic. Right, basic. The B stands for what? Belonging. So before we talk about belonging, where does that come in at? Where does commanding the good and forbidding the evil, where does that come in at when we talk about someone's belongings? Property, okay, but how does that fit into, huh? Okay, explain it more.
Meaning you're not going to violate.
You're not going to transgress.
Aha, you're not going to transgress against somebody. Right. If you see someone transgressing, then what? You stop that person. As the Prophet mentioned, "Unsur akhaka al-zalim wal-mazlum." Help your brother, the oppressed, the oppressor, and the one that's being oppressed. Right, to stop him from oppressing people. So if you see, for example, someone stealing the wealth of another person, then what? You stop them. So commanding the good, forbidding the evil also preserves those 5 basic rights. We said B was for basic. B was for belonging. The A was for what? Ancestry. So how does that fit into commanding the good and forbidding the evil? Give me an example. Okay, the bloodline. But how do you preserve the bloodline by commanding the good and forbidding the evil?
I'll be out there fooling around.
Perfect. You see one of these little teenagers out here, or even some of the adults out there running the street, doing what he's supposed to be doing, right? Messing around on the block and things like that. You see him, take him to Sahi, Taqillah. Feel Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Know what you're doing is wrong? So on and so forth. Right? So commanding the good and forbidding the evil also preserves what? Ancestry. What was the next one? The S.
Safety.
Safety. All right? How does that fit in?
People feeling safe in your presence.
People feeling safe in your presence. طيب.
If people know that you're not going to transgress, they know
People,
your character.
alhamdulillah. People know your character, know you're not going to what? Transgress. طيب. What is the next one? I is what? Intellect. How does commanding the good and forbidding the evil, how does it preserve intellect?
Not being a drunkard, using drugs and alcohol.
Right? Commanding the people and being concerned about their what? About being sober. Hey, come on, you should leave stuff alone. So on and so forth. But if everybody's what? Quiet, sin is what?
It's okay.
It's rampant. All right?
Right with it.
You're all right with it. All right, so what does the C stand for? Creed. How does that fall underneath commanding the good and forbidding the evil? For those who just came in, we're on the 34th hadith. The 34th hadith. Creed. How do you command the good and forbid the evil? How does that preserve creed? Huh? Your faith.
Amen in the heart.
Amen in the heart. Teaching. Telling the people, stay away. La tushrik billah. Don't worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So on and so forth. This is the biggest form of commanding the good and forbidding the evil. People to stay away from what? Shirk. Shirk billah, right? Tayyib. Once again, we're going over different things before we actually go into the initial hadith. And I think these things are pertinent. So what we have to go over is what is the shurut of the amir himself? What is the conditions of the person who is commanding the good and forbidding the evil? We're going to go over what is the condition. So if you're writing it down, I want you to draw a line. And you're going to put on one side the conditions of the person commanding the good. And on the other side, you're going to put that which is not a condition. That which is not a condition. All right? So we're going to go over what is the condition, shurut al-amr, the conditions of the person himself, huh? A person himself. So on one side, you're going to put the conditions of the person commanding the good and forbidding the evil. And then the other side is going to be that which is not a condition, but the people think is a condition. All right? Huh? All right. So tayyib. So the first one is, so there's 4 conditions for the shurut al-amr, the person that's commanding the good and forbidding the evil. The first condition is he has to have what? The correct intention.
Everything starts with that.
Everything starts with what? The niyyah.
Yeah.
You have a people, when they want to command the good and forbid the evil, their sole intention is to what? They want to make ihraj. They want to embarrass the person. It's not to try to teach them and guide them. The intention is to what? To embarrass them in front of the people. To prove that they don't know anything. All right, so the people can say this person is foolish or he's an idiot and so on and so forth. So the first thing of the condition of the person who wants to command the good and forbid the evil is that a person has to do what? He has to have what? The correct intention. The second thing is the person has to be mu'addab. The person has to have good manners. When you command the good and forbid the evil, you have to have good manners. And a lot of people, sometimes we shun this to the side. Like, I'm grown, man. I already know what good manners is and so on and so forth. Right? But you'll find that even the scholars of the past, what they will do, some of them, they will study adab. They will study manners for 10 to 15 years before they study books of fiqh. That's how important it was. So we shouldn't just throw it to the side, because what happens is when we grow up, we put a lot of things in our culture, and our culture actually goes against what the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the second thing that a person has to have if he wants to command the good and forbid the evil is a person has to exemplify good manners. This is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ma min shay," that there is nothing أثقل في ميزان العبد يوم القيامة من حسن الخلق. There is nothing more heavy on the scales on Yawm al-Qiyamah after Tawheed, obviously, than what? Having good manners. There was nothing, wallahi, billahi tallahi, a person having good manners will save him from the hellfire. The Prophet said, I need everyone to think about this. Ma min shay, there is nothing أثقل, more heavier on the scale on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Obviously, ba'da Tawheed, after Tawheed, then what? Having good manners. So a person who wants to, the shurut al-amr, the person who wants to command the good and forbid the evil, he has to be what? Mu'addib. A lot of times, I remember, a lot of times people generally, they do not have a problem with accepting the truth. The problem comes in with the person who's doing what? Who's delivering the message. It is not the message, it's the messenger that I got a problem with. And I remember when I was in Medina, one of my teachers, he used to say, before he would start the lesson, he would say, Arun alaykum, shame on all of you. I'm like, who are you talking to? He ain't talking to me. All right? So he will always say that. And then he explained why. And he would say, the reality is, some of you are the true enemies to the sunnah. So what is he talking about? He said, sometimes when you go to people and they're doing something that may be in the opposition to the religion, but they're only doing it because they're what? They're ignorant. But how you come off? Oh, you this, that, and the third. You shouldn't be doing this. You fool. You been Muslim all these years. How you don't know Arabic? All these, the way you speak to people, you run them away from what? You run them from the truth. You might run them away from the religion. So who's a true enemy to the sunnah? This is why, wallah, it's really important that we have good manners, how we talk to people, how we deal with people. Because also, you may be talking to someone, you may offend somebody who Allah is in love with. And then you got a big problem. Because Allah Azza, He mentions in the Hadith Qudsi that He will wage war against a person who offends one of His awliya. And when Allah rages war against a person, there is no place to run. All right? So we have that the person has to be what? Mu'addib. He has to have good manners. Right? The third thing is the person has to have what? Ilm. Person has to have knowledge. You just can't be talking from something you read on Facebook. So because you spent 5 minutes researching something, now you got to run outside and now you're doing it wrong. How you know that? I just read it on Google. All right? So you start going and all to this masal of ijtihad and you want to start forcing the people to implement something. You don't even know what you're talking about. So when somebody asks you, I don't understand that, explain that, prove to me, you're going to shake Google again. Alim bidhalik. A person has to have knowledge of what he's talking about. If you don't know what you're talking about, what? Be quiet. Wallahi. I remember one of the teachers before, I think we were in Medina, and he said something I thought was so profound. He said, a lot of times we find the true enemies to the Islam are some ignorant Muslims. And unfortunately, we live in a time where, quote unquote, social media has given people a platform to say whatever they want. So you find people, they become 10-minute sheikhs, and they get on these websites, they get on all these particular things, and they give fatwa from their pocket and all this other stuff. And then now they become this big alim, and they only study for 5 minutes. All right? So they cause more harm than actually good. And it's better for these people to be quiet. Because anything that you say, wallahi, you will be held accountable for on Yawm al-Qiyamah. All right? And the last thing is that the person has to have the qudrah. The person has to have the ability to actually stop the evil. All right? And this is the guidelines the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. مَنْ رَأَ مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَيُغَيِّرُ بِيَدِهِ. Whoever sees an evil, to let him change it with what? His hands. And if فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِيعْ, and if he can't, his tongue. And if he can't, to do what? The Prophet ﷺ has given the people a rubric. Okay, he has given the people, this is the order that you take. There's actually a hidden level that's not mentioned in this hadith. As some of the scholars they mentioned, the first thing that a person must do, is that he or she must find out if the person knows that this is wrong or not before they start forcing it on them. All right? So again, you may meet someone, and be honest, you may meet someone who he or she may be a new shahada, and they don't know all the intricate details of the deen. So they may be doing something that's haram that they honestly don't know that is haram. But then you come beating your chest, you start screaming on the person. Wallahi, you will run people away like that. You don't even know, how would you feel on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on a day of judgment, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you, لِمَاذَا فَعَلْتَ كَذَا وَكَذَا? Why did you do such and such and such and such? And you start saying, because this, that, and the third. And then Allah mentioned, Alam ta'arif. Did you not know this person just accepted Islam the day before? Did you not know such and such and such and such? Did you not know this? Did you not know that? Therefore, it's upon the person, it behooves the person that he or she must find out who they're talking, the situation of the person, before they actually what? Give that person nasiha. Is that understood? All right. And you will prevent yourself, inshallah ta'ala, you will prevent yourself from tripping up more in the future. All right? Play it. So now we mentioned the four conditions that's shurut al-amma, the conditions of the person himself. What are the conditions that people think? Now we're going to the second part of that bracket that I told you to make. Conditions that people think is a condition, but it's not really a condition. The first thing is that the person believes that they have to leave the sin themselves first before they do what? Before they give nasiha. This is wallahi, this is one of the biggest problems that we all have. Shaitan, he comes to the person and he says, how you going to tell the person to stop drinking? And you just was drinking 5 minutes ago. How you going to tell the person to stop smoking and you already know your past? So Shaitan tries to embarrass the person. So therefore the person does not do what? First and foremost, wallahi, all of us are sinners in this room, myself included. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Kullu bani Adam khata." All the children of Adam, they're what? Sinners. So if everyone remains quiet, then everyone will do what? What they want to do. It is not a condition that the person has to leave the sin themselves first and then give nasiha about that particular thing. So for an example, if you know a particular brother, and I'm using the brother as an example, if you know a brother, for an example, he has a problem with, I don't know, smoking weed, for an example. And then that's your vice that you're struggling with too. Again, it's not a condition that you have to totally stop doing this particular thing before you start giving him advice. What you need to do is that both of you need to understand is what? Haram, first and foremost. Secondly, you still give the person, okay, you know what, this is haram. And he flip it on you. What are you talking about? We smoking together. Tell you what, be honest. You know, I know, astaghfirullah, man, it's haram. It's something we both need to what? Work on it. What happens is a person becomes so embarrassed with themselves. And remember, we went over the other hadith. Al-itham ma haka fi nafsik. Sin is that does what in the chest? Wavers in the chest. Neither one of you is supposed to be doing it. So therefore, once again, it's not a condition that people think that they have to leave this sin alone first before they give nasiha. One of the things that they like to use, and I want everyone to look at this verse, in Surah Al-Ma'idah 105. They'll use this verse as a proof or as a reason why they don't, they have to leave a sin or be concerned with the sin themselves, or be concerned with themselves and not worry about anybody else. Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 5. Verse number 105, excuse me. 105, Who has it?
And all you who believe, take care of your souls. You who errs cannot hurt you when you are on the right way.
All right, stop. Allah says, Ya ladina aminu alaykum anfusakum. Worry, in some translations, worry about what? Yourself. No one, la yadurukum man dalla idha ihtadaytum. Those who are misguided is not going to harm you if you what? If you guide it. A lot of people, they'll take this verse and they'll interpret it the way they want to. Allah says, alaykum anfusakum, I ain't got to worry about nobody else. La. The meaning of this ayah, is that some of the scholars of tafsir, they have explained it that this ayah is after the person has done what? Has done what?
Giving advice.
It has advised the person. After you commanded the good and forbid the evil, khalas. You did your job. After that, worry about what? Your own sins. It is not, well, Allah said, work for myself, so I ain't got to give no advice, no nothing. And I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And as soon as someone get on me, I'm going to expose their sins too. That is not the meaning of the verse. All right? And you making tafsir from your own chest. All right? That is not the meaning of it. We need to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in regards to that. All right? That's in regards to that. Now we're actually going to go to the hadith itself. So I want, just for memorization, let's go over the hadith again. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? The 34th hadith. Who has it? You have the book, Abdul Wahaab? Can you read it? 34th hadith.
On the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Qadri, who said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whosoever of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. And if he is not able to do so, then with his tongue. And if he is not able to do so, then with his heart, and that is the weakest of faith.
So yeah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned 3 levels in changing evil. The first one was what? Change it with your hand. Next one with your mouth. And the last one what? With your heart. The reality is that some people will be able to implement all 3. However, a lot of people, majority of the people, will only be able to implement one, and we're actually going to go over what we're talking about. Before that, the Prophet ﷺ, in the beginning, he said, "Min ra'a minkum munkaran." Whoever sees an evil. I want to repeat that. Whoever sees an evil. The Prophet ﷺ did not say tajassasu. He did not say spy. Whoever spies on their brother or their sister and then they see an evil. He said whoever what? So therefore it's mentioned, as is understood, that ta'muru bil ma'ruf, that commanding the good and forbidding the evil, is connected, muta'alliq bi ru'ya, is connected to actually seeing it. If a person sees it, this does not mean you start searching for mistakes. All right. So for an example, I'm just going to use it. I don't want to get nobody mad. It's just an example. Wife steals her husband's phone. I know he's doing something. So she started going through his phone. All right? And then she said, brother, astaghfirullah. Going in on him. Or vice versa. He does the same thing. You what? You searching for what? For issues. For problems. This is not the meaning of the hadith. Whoever sees it, whoever sees an evil, then let them do what? Let them take these particular steps. Again, it is not connected to spying. It is not permissible for you to spy on one another, whether it be your spouse, whether it be anyone else. All right? Obviously, in certain cases, we're not going to go to the extreme. For an example, if a parent knows that their child is doing something they're not supposed to be doing, then what? We can make bahth. We can try to find out what's going on. All right, so it's not sufficient if you find your son doing something and you like, hey, stop doing it. He said, Abi. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Ra'a minkum." Whoever sees it. He ain't say nothing about spying, so stop spying. Fear Allah. All right, first of all, you might get knocked out. All right. Secondly, you might get knocked out. Secondly, right, that's not the case. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned what? Whoever sees the evil. Does it mean the general ruling is that what? We don't spy on each other. Obviously, in certain cases, you need to do what you need to do. But again, we don't start looking for particular sins. So for an example, if Adam, a good friend of mine, so now if he starts saying, I wonder what Abdul Wahaab does after the dust. He been ending class a little bit too early. All right? So I'm going to follow what the Sheikh doing. So he gets in his car and he follows me. He don't live that way. He live this way. Where he going? Right? It happens. Yeah, I've heard stuff like this before. Right? So the point is that one of the prophets said, "Man, ra'a minkum." Whoever sees it. Now, whoever spies and then he wants to inform the people. All right? That's in regards to that. So the first sin is that it's connected to what? To actually seeing it. Now we're actually going to go into that this thing, commanding the good and forbidding the evil, it is obligatory upon everyone. So you have certain parts of the hadith. The Prophet mentioned 3 levels. The first one was changing it with the hands, then the mouth, and then actually the heart. No one is exempt from the heart part. Some people will not be able to change it with their hands or their tongues. But no one is exempt from what? Changing it with what? Hating it in their heart. This is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I want everyone to think about this. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in the hadith, "Min hadar al-ma'asiyah." Whoever is there, who's present when the evil has happened, and he hates it, or he hates to see that particular thing happening, فَكَأَنَّهُ غَابَ عَنْهَا. It's as if he was what? Not there. وَمَنْ غَابَ عَنْهَا فَرَضِيَهَا. Whoever was not there, but he's pleased that that particular thing is happening, فَكَأَنَّهُ حَضَرَهَا. It is as if he was present when he would get the sin of the person who was present. Again, من حضر المعصية. Whoever has a sin that's happening in front of him, okay, but he detests it, فَكَأَنَّهُ غَابَ عَنْهَا. It is as if he was not there. He didn't. The Prophet didn't mention change it with his hand, speak out. He says what? He detests it. He hates it. Then Allah will not hold him accountable. But whoever was not even there, but they're pleased that that particular thing is what? Is going on. Then Allah will hold them accountable as if they was what? As if they was there. A part of the sin. Alright, so let's give an example to, and this is why no one is exempt from the last part of what? Of hating it with your heart. So let's give an example. What is a sin that's happening that you may not actually be pleased with? Right? That inshallah, that you'll be from the people who are not pleased with that particular thing. Give me an example.
That you're present for?
That you're present. I have a perfect example, but it's embarrassing. All right. So I'll say it, whatever. All right. So I was in New York one time, and I was visiting my father, and my father lives in the Bronx, so I had to go to, I think, Queens or something like that. But anyway, he was driving, and he was like, "Listen, I gotta go to work." So we were in Manhattan, and he kicked me out the car. Right? He's like, "Yo, listen, you're a grown man. Just take the train." So I didn't know. Bear with me. I didn't know in New York that day they was having a gay parade. All right. So I have the stove on. Well, I had a stove on, and my kufi on. Right. And I had some books. I just came back from Medina too. And in New York, they got the media out there, the gay parade and stuff like that. So now I'm worried, like, yo, they're gonna be like a student from Medina's at a gay parade, right? Astaghfirullah. So I'm carrying my books. My father like, get out and start walking. So I'm walking, and I'm like sweating because I'm like, anybody who's been in New York know the New York blocks are real long. So, especially through a gay parade, right? so I'm walking through the parade, because that's the only way I can get through to get to the train. So I got these books. I think I had like some fiqh books or something like that. And I was walking, and the whole time just like, stuff. And this guy who has like high heels on, he's walking like next to me. And he says, "That's a nice dress." I said, "My man, this is like, this ain't a dress, huh?" So anyway, I'm about to drop the books. So I get upset. So anyway, that was an example of man hadara ma'asiyah. Who's ever present, and every time I read this hadith, I think about that stuff a lot. But so man hadara ma'asiyah, who's ever present, that sin is happening, those particular things, and obviously we know what happens at that particular parade. So I'm sitting, just walking, and the funny part about it was, when I was walking, a cameraman, like from I forgot the news channel, like right in my face. So, wallahi, that whole night I watched the news, like, "Oh, please, Allah, please, don't." I don't want to be. If I get back to Medina, and my teacher be like, "Abdul Wahaab, inshallah." You know what I'm saying? What's going on? You got gay parades? So, nah, I ain't getting no doubt. So anyway, that's the point, is mahadara ma'asiyah. Whoever is present, the evil is taking place, and he hates it. فَكَأَنَّهُ غَابَ عَنْهَا. And as if he is not there. When I read that part of hadith, I said, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, Allah is most merciful. Wallahi. All right? But whoever is not there, but they're pleased with it. You have a lot of people, and unfortunately, I'm just going to use that particular thing. You have a lot of people in different countries. They defend certain things that's happened in different countries. Oh, you know, people are born that way. You have Muslim people, so quote unquote imams, marrying people of the same sex, so on and so forth. So these people, some people are pleased with it, and they're not even there. All right, so we understand that. So therefore, the first part, no one is exempt from what? At the very least, from doing what? Hating in the heart. This is why Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, "Halaka man lam ya'rif biqalbihi al-ma'ruf wal-munkar." Destroyed is the person who, at the very least, he can't determine with his own heart what's good and what's evil. That person is destroyed. في الدنيا وآخرة. حلك من لم يعرف. Destroyed is the person who cannot determine good with his heart. He does not know good from evil. And this is why we talked about actually commanding the good and forbidding the evil, so a person does not become what? Desensitized to the sin. What doesn't bother him or her anymore. It's something that's normal, right? So we don't want to be from those people. Inshallah ta'ala. Also, we want to mention that here, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in several narrations about the people, if you do not command the good and forbid the evil, at the very least, if you do not do these particular things, what's going to happen is Allah is going to punish everybody. Everybody. There's a narration where I'll mention several different narrations. One of the narrations is that Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted to destroy a particular land. So he sent the angel to destroy that land. فَأَرْسَلَهُ مَلَكٌ. He sent the angel to destroy that land. So when the angel went to that land, he saw a particular person, a believer, that was there. فَرَجَعَ. So he went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah asked him what happened. And obviously Allah knows already. So the angel says, I was going to destroy the land, but I saw fulan bu fulan. So-and-so was there. How can I destroy the land when so-and-so was there? Allah asked him, is he commanding the good and forbidding the evil? Is he telling the people to leave off this sin? And so on and so forth. قَالَ لَا. The angel said no. So Allah said, then start with him first. Alright? So we want to be mindful of that. That if a person, at the very least, they do not command the good and forbid the evil, Allah will what? Punish everybody together. So one of the ways of preventing the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is at the very least a person doing what? Speaking out against it. Now, we're actually going to go over to the part where some people changing it with their hands and changing it with their tongue is connected to the ability of the person. For an example, if you see someone doing a particular sin, by you actually trying to go and physically stop that person, you may cause a what? A greater harm. All right? A greater harm. Or even speaking out against it. Okay? Or speaking out against it, if you're going to cause a greater harm, then what is probably best to do what? To not do it. But at the very least, do what? But that does not mean in every situation you can't do what? All right? So sometimes fear, you're just going to have to deal with it and speak out against it. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Afdalul jihad. The best form of struggle is that a person speaks a word of truth in front of a tyrant. The best form, everybody want to talk about this, that, and the third, but the best form of jihad, the best form of struggle is that a person speaks a word that is adl in front of an unjust ruler. That speech right there means a lot. All right? So you have a narration, it's not a hadith, but an athar of one of the companions. He asked Ibn Abbas that what should I do? This issue of commanding the good and forbidding the evil. What should I do if I see the rights of Allah, or excuse me, if I see something being transgressed against. They said, do you fear something will happen to you? I said, well, yeah, no, I mean, I really don't know. They said, okay, then just hate it in your heart. But then the companion asked him, and he said, what if I see one of the rights of Allah being violated against? Then what should I do? He said, I don't have the ability to stop with my hands, and I'm afraid that, people won't start talking about me and all the other stuff if I say something. So Ibn Abbas, he said, Kun rajan, you gotta be a man and do what you gotta do. Even if the people they start talking about you. So people talking about you and saying bad things and lies about you is not a reason of why you should not do what's right and stand up for what's right. It's always time to do what is right. There's never a bad time to not do what is right. Even if it means you have to be honest against yourself. And someone says, Abdul Wahaab, man, come on, man, I know what you do. Stuff a lot, but it's the haq is the haq. You can say whatever you want, but the truth is the truth at the end of the day. We all got mistakes and sins, but the truth, this is what the Prophet said. May Allah help me out. But this is the reality of the situation. So you always have to speak the truth regardless of what. You can't be... This is also why you have no other narrations where the Prophet ﷺ used to make dua and teach the people dua of make refuge in Allah, of not being a coward. Be honest and be upright. And don't be afraid. Speak the truth even if it's against yourself. And it's advice to myself first and foremost. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Your main concern is to be free in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happens here is that people, and before we go over that, when we talk about not commanding the good and forbidding the evil because you're afraid that people are going to talk about you, there comes another narration that there is no one more patient upon what they hear that offends them than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People say that Allah don't even exist. But He still what? Gives them life, still let them have children, still gives them a great job, and so on and so forth. But they deny that He even exists. Some people says, قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا سُبْحَانَهُ. They say that Allah has what? A son. Subhana. And Allah frees Himself from that, but He still does what? Provides for them. So, if they talk bad about Allah, and they talk bad about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said he was a what?
Madman.
Say he's a madman, he was a liar, he was this, he was all these, the worst things you could think of, they called him. So if they can talk bad about Allah and talk bad about prophets, min ant. Who are you? Are you that afraid you don't want no one to talk about you that you're just going to compromise the religion of Allah? When Allah hears the worst of speech against Him, but He still provides for the people. He still does that. Some of us in this room were non-Muslims before. How many people in the room, by show of hands, accepted Islam? It's a lot of people. Right? And some of us, we know what we should do back in the day. Some of us was atheists. We didn't believe in Allah, none of this other stuff. And Allah still gave you what? Gave you the truth. Gave you what you want. Not only gave you the truth, but guided you to the Sunnah. Put you in the best of situations. Right? So therefore, alhamdulillah, you can't be afraid to defend yourself or even stand up for what is right. As you mentioned, it's always the perfect time to do that which is right. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. We're going to end, we have until what, 8:30, 8:35?
I got that much time left. Just a few minutes. Yeah.
Tell you. So you have, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, notice that he connected to what? فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. Right? And if a person can't, فَبَقَلْبِهِ. Then if a person can't do any of these particular things, change it with his hands, nor change it with their speech, then let them what? Hate in the heart. فَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ إِيمَانٍ. And that is the very lowest form of what? Of faith. Notice that at the very end, the Prophet ﷺ connected commending the good and forbidding the evil to faith. At the very least, if a person, and I want y'all to think about this, if a person at the very least cannot hate something in their heart, then it's as if the person does not have iman. I'm not saying the person is a disbeliever, but at the very least, that which you can control. No one can't tell you to not hate in your heart. All right, you may be afraid to change it with your hand. Lebes. You may be afraid to speak out against it. Okay, play it. But how you that afraid you can't even hate it in your chest? Somebody got that much control over you that you can't even dislike it in your own self. If a person have reached that level, wallahi, he or she needs to fear for themselves. Because as if the person does not have iman, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, ذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ iman. That is the lowest form of faith. And if you don't even have that, Allahumma musta'an. If you don't even have that, you're in big trouble. All right, do you understand that, brothers and sisters? Tayyib, inshallah ta'ala. Also, we just want to mention Tayyib. Just want you one more thing, inshallah ta'ala. When we talk about commanding the good and forbidding the evil, it has to be an evil that is clear. It can't be one of those things, like I said, there's a difference of opinion about. All right? So for an example, and this probably is a bad example, just something that came to mind for the sake of time. There's a difference of opinion for a person standing up and drinking. All right? Something to mention, it's better to sit down and so on and so forth. I have seen, astaghfirullah, in certain places where a brother may be standing up and drinking, and somebody just walks down and just slap the drink out of his hand. Slap the drink out of his hand, and then says, whoever sees the evil, let him change it with his hands. I'll slap the drink. It has to be one of those things that's what? It's clear. That is, hey, this is haram, you shouldn't be doing it. Not one of those things that there's a difference of opinion about, because you're going to cause what? A greater harm. Is that understood? Play, inshallah, we'll end with that, inshallah. Is there any questions?
I have a question.
Play, fadal.
So, you're talking about the conditions of the people, you're talking about the conditions of the people, for this, for that. And then later on, you talked about basically like in your own heart, you should be able to know what's good or evil, or that would be the destruction of you. So there are not really any conditions as to what is considered evil, or is all evil haram, or is all haram evil, or is it just because how you said with the black spots on your heart, everybody's iman is at different levels. So what I feel is evil, you may not feel as evil.
Right.
This is the difference between something, I guess, wrongdoing and the evil.
Alhamdulillah.
The word evil is used.
Mumtaz. That's why the meaning of munkar is the meaning of is man qabbahu Allah wa harramahu wa naha anhu. This is evil is that which Allah has mentioned that what khalas is haram. Right? Something that Allah has legislated. This is something you should not be doing. It's haram, and to stay away from it. That's why we mentioned that it has to be one of those things that's clear. That's a text that mentions that's haram. Because when you start getting into issues that is ikhtilaf and so on and so forth, like you said, which your opinion may be different from my opinion, right? But now, if we don't have anything, a text to determine that this particular thing is haram, to be used, that rubric that we want in another hadith, that the ithma haka fi nafsik, the sin is what ravens in the chest. But again, if it's one of those things where there's nothing tangible, right? Then we want the person is better for the person to do what? To be sakit, to be quiet. But again, if it's one of those things where it's clear, it's haram, regardless of how you feel like, it is what it is, right? But again, if it's one of those differences of opinion, your sheikh said this is haram, but my sheikh said it's not, then what? It's nothing to really argue about, because you're talking about the opinions at the end of the day. And we're not talking about what Allah and His Messenger said. So that which is evil is whatever Allah and His Messenger said. I know it's kind of a long answer, but I hope that answers. Thank you.
In the second column, you mentioned one thing, and you mentioned proof. The thing that you mentioned was that the person who thinks that he has to stop the sin before he can tell the people, give them nasiyah for the people to stop the sin. The proof was 5105. That was it in the second column?
Yeah, that was. I had a lot more, but for the sake of time, we'll go over next time. Inshallah. Any other questions?
Yes.
Tafadhal, ya Sheikh.
Question about the sequence of events, like we go from the hand
Aywa.
to the tongue to the heart. It seems that the hand is driven by the heart. Usually when you see a munkar,
Aywa.
you start with the heart.
Aywa.
And then the heart may drive the tongue, and then So maybe I'm not sure, we should not take it as a sequence of events. So if you cannot change it with your hand, then hate it. Because usually when you see a munkar, that's what triggers the tongue and the
طيب.
hand.
Aina. But however, we still have to keep it in that order because this is the order, the tartib that the Prophet ﷺ gave us. But then we also interpret that hadith with another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ala wa inna fi jasdi mulghatan, idha salahat salaha jasdu kulluhu." That there's a morsel of flesh in the body that if that sound, the whole body is sound. And if it's corrupt, the whole body corrupt, then truly it's the heart. So as mentioned, it starts with the heart, but the tongue is what the mutarjim of what that which is in the heart, and then the hands, the jawarih, is actually what implements that. So if a person has the correct iman, then he has to follow that particular tartib. But then again, if he cannot do that, at the very least, that for iman, that which is in the heart.
On the hadith that you said about when you speak strong words in front of the unjust ruler,
Ayyo,
so that's a big evil probably.
ayyo.
And then the Prophet ﷺ said that you have to, maybe the best thing is to use
Mhm.
the nice words.
Ayyo.
So maybe that is in harmony with the
Yeah, but like I said, at the very least, Ayna. But the very least, and that's why he said that for iman, the lowest form of faith. A better form is that you hate it in the heart and you can change it with the tongue. And the better form is that you hate it in the heart and you can also change it with your hands. But if you can't do none of that, then at the very least, then what? It stays in the heart. But it all starts in the heart now. Ayna. واضح؟ طيب إن شاء الله جزاك الله خير. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. آسف ها؟ مطاولة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
How you doing?
Good Florida?
No, the war with Jabril. I have to take the boys next week.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.